Who are some of the most entitled and whiny people? Maybe the real question is, who should we want to throw a drink at the most? Let's get right to it and start with number 8. Do you know who his brother is? Jackson Mahomes, the younger brother of Kansas City Chiefs superstar quarterback Patrick Mahomes, found himself in the spotlight for a ton of reasons, and none of them were good. First, Jackson dumped a bottle of water on Ravens fans during a Chiefs away game. Of course, that kind of behavior had fans and the media annoyed, prompting discussions about sportsmanship and appropriate behavior. Of course, he didn't pull that at a Raiders game. If he did, this would likely be a very different story. But despite the criticism, Jackson found support from an unexpected source. Kansas City Mayor Quinton Lucas. The mayor came to his defense and tweeted, "Leave Jackson Mahomes alone." Jackson quickly faced another controversy when he danced on the late Sean Taylor's memorial logo during a game in Washington. The dance sparked outrage among fans. As Taylor was a beloved NFL player who tragically passed away, Jackson apologized, explaining that he had been directed to stand in that area and had no intention of disrespecting Taylor's memory. We're sure the dance was interpretive and tasteful. In another incident, Jackson became embroiled in a feud with a local Kansas City bar. Jackson, who came to the bar with a huge entourage, wasn't able to be seated. But the bar couldn't accommodate such a large group. So Jackson whined about it online and badmouthed the bar. But the bar didn't just take it. Instead, they responded with a scathing Facebook post where they called out Jackson's sense of entitlement and vowed to survive his ego. Jackson then faced allegations of scamming a business called Rare Munchies. They claim that Jackson promised to promote their products on social media in exchange for free stuff. But he never actually did it. Instead, Jackson denied receiving anything from the company, leading to a back-and-forth exchange. Rumors have suggested that Jackson wasn't wanted at Chiefs games due to his sideline antics allegedly impacting his brother Patrick's brand. However, Jackson, being self-absorbed and oblivious, said he was excited for the upcoming season rather than address his issues. Jackson also expressed frustration with social media, claiming that it was destroying his life. He talked about the negative attention and backlash he received and said it took a toll on his well-being. Why should Jackson have to deal with the consequences of his behavior, you know? Rumors have also circulated that Jackson wasn't invited to his brother Patrick's bachelor party in Las Vegas, which fueled speculation about their relationship. There were finally reports of a sit-down conversation between the two brothers to address Jackson's behavior. Hopefully it worked. Nothing brings out good character more than wealth by association, right? Number 7. Entitled Tuesday. Influencer Ruby Tuesday Matthews faced backlash after complaining about not being able to drop off her bags at the airport after arriving late for her flight. She took to Instagram to share her frustration, claiming she was only 2 minutes late to the bag drop area, but her complaints weren't well received. After an influencer sleuth account reposted Ruby's stories, a journalist named Melissa Hoyer suggested that maybe Ruby should have left earlier and put her phone down for a moment. Others chimed in, telling Ruby things she already knew. It was her responsibility to arrive on time, and she should give herself extra time when traveling with kids. Then, they all emphasized that flights have schedules for a reason, and there are cutoff times for baggage drop-off. Some people defended Ruby, pointing out that if it had happened to a non-influencer mother, people would be more sympathetic. Still, the majority felt that Ruby was displaying entitled behavior. This incident isn't the first time Ruby has courted controversy at the airport. In 2020, she held up a Jetstar flight when she left the airport to have oysters at a restaurant off-site. Other passengers were angry when she boarded the plane 30 minutes after the scheduled departure time. Ruby had left the airport because the flight was to be delayed for 2 hours due to technical issues. But while she was gone, an announcement was made that the flight was rescheduled to depart earlier than expected, something she was unaware of. When Ruby finally returned, she was mercilessly heckled by other passengers over the delay because, of course, she was eating oysters. In her defense, Ruby blamed Jetstar for the incident, claiming that the staff didn't help her and that she was met with personal attacks with fellow travelers. She expressed concern for her own safety and argued that the criticism she received could have a severe impact on someone less resilient. Do you think she was acting entitled either time? Is it unreasonable to be frustrated about missing a bag drop by 2 minutes? Or was it her own fault and she should have padded her time better? Was she wrong for leaving the airport after being told about a 2-hour delay? Let us know in the comments below. Number 6. Free babysitting, please. The babysitter found herself in a frustrating situation when a mother refused to pay her for her services. The babysitter, who had agreed to a predetermined fee of $16 per hour, reached out to the mother to arrange payment. But the mother pretended to be unaware of any payment agreement and insisted that the babysitter had received payment in the form of free ice cream and a day of fun instead. Plus, her kids were really easy to watch, which must have been totally nuts to hear from someone who owes you money. The babysitter quickly provided screenshots of their previous conversation, clearly showing the agreed upon rate of $16 per hour for 8 hours of service, totaling $128. The mother countered that she often deleted messages and didn't recall the payment discussion, so it's a good thing there were screenshots. As the conversation continued, the mother attempted to lowball the babysitter, suggesting a compromise of $20 instead of the agreed upon $128. But the babysitter firmly stood her ground, emphasizing that she had provided care for 8 hours and that $128 was the appropriate total. She further explained that she had taken the job because she was paying for her college textbooks. The conversation turned sour as the mother insisted the ice cream and hanging out was payment enough, then told her she was stuck up and called an offensive name. She then blocked the babysitter, refusing to pay the required amount. The situation garnered attention on social media, with many expressing outrage and suggesting that the babysitter pursue legal action. Eventually, she managed to contact the father of the children and threatened to sue, which prompted the mother to unblock her and agree to coordinate payment. We can't believe how entitled this babysitter was acting. Imagine giving a college student free ice cream, having her watch your kids, who are super fun and easy, for 8 hours, and then she has the gall to ask for payment, like she's just owed money. Please. The ice cream is free. Payment works with toddlers. Why not college students? Look, if you've got kids, you know you think the world of them. But to think that they're so great that a stranger should want to watch them for you for free is delusional. That lady must be insufferable. Number 5. Free songs, please. Jamie Matthias, a professional singer based in London, found himself arguing with influencers who wanted him to perform at their Ibiza wedding. The unnamed influencers explained that they would pay in the form of social media promotion, which meant they weren't going to pay anything. So Matthias took to Twitter to air his irritation. The conversation unfolded with the influencers saying they wanted Matthias to fly out and perform at their wedding, and that the presence of their social media stars would be an opportunity for him. However, when Matthias mentioned discussing prices for his services, the influencers dismissively said they weren't paying suppliers. Instead, they offered only promotional posts as compensation, which they argued was good enough. Matthias pointed out the irony of performing for free at a wedding full of supposedly affluent individuals. The post gained significant attention and garnered a multitude of responses. Many social media users criticized influencer culture, highlighting the entitlement and lack of respect for artists' time and talents. Some emphasized the importance of fair compensation and rejected the notion that exposure alone should suffice as payment. One comment resonated with the sentiment expressed by many, comparing the situation to hiring a plumber and expecting their services for free in exchange for spreading positive word of mouth to neighbors. At what point did we find ourselves living in a time when simple word of mouth advertisement is now considered a form of payment? Number 4. Free time, please. Sarah Smack McCreener, the owner of Billy Studios in Los Angeles, shared an angry voice note from an unnamed influencer on TikTok who wanted free studio time. McCreener, who runs a rent-by-the-hour studio space frequently used by influencers for photo shoots, received a request from an influencer to use her studio for a 20-minute photo shoot with her daughter. When McCreener politely declined the request, expressing her disappointment about the lack of actual payment, the influencer left an angry voice note. In the voice note, the influencer said that she'd asked to come in for only 20 minutes to shoot something with her daughter. She then said she charges a lot of money for her postings and that she gets 12 million hits on her TikTok and how she does really well. Blah, blah, blah. She then demands to know who runs the account, asks if McCreener is 90, and wonders if she even knows how influencers work. In our experience, insults have always been a great way to get someone to change their mind. You have no idea how much extra free stuff we get by being rude to the McDonald's drive-thru person. While the influencer remained unnamed in the TikTok video, many viewers believe it was fashion influencer Amy Royland, sister of Rick and Morty's Justin Roiland. Amy, known for her colorful lifestyle content featuring her young daughter, has since deactivated her TikTok account. Interestingly, McCreener, with over 3 million followers on TikTok, had a much larger following than the influencer who made the request. Following the viral TikTok, McCreener shared screenshots of the conversation conducted over Instagram DMs with the influencer. The studio then reiterated its policy, only accepting paying clients, and expressed disappointment in the influencer's continuous requests for free free studio time. The situation escalated when the disgruntled influencer allegedly spammed McCreener's various accounts with complaints. McCreener shared screenshots of angry reviews and emails that the influencer sent to her personal email, her daughter's Instagram account, and on the studio's website. The influencer reportedly threatened to tarnish McCreener's reputation among her famous blogger and musician friends. As the controversy unfolded, Roiland's TikTok account became a target of criticism and attacks. So Roiland, not able to take the heat from the fire she started, deactivated her account and then reactivated it, but turned the comments off. However, Roiland did comment on her own video saying that people only saw one side of the story and how she was so rude and mean. She said that viewers didn't know that her grandfather just passed away, so she was upset, but regretted that she reacted the way she did. And that's a nice apology, Amy, but maybe you should have said that to the person you were acting like an entitled moron in front of. Number 3, free food, please. An entitled reviewer gave a 1-star rating to a restaurant, praising the food, but then trashing the place over not receiving a discount. Why? Because she had a following of over 11,000 people. So that review should be worth some free food from a popular restaurant. The reviewer in question left a 1-star rating and a scathing review for a restaurant, criticizing the cheap management and customer service. Initially, the reviewer dedicated an entire paragraph to praising the food, calling it delicious and some of the best Italian cuisine they had tasted. They even said they were going to post about it on Instagram, boasting about their 11,000 followers, many of whom were in the local area. But then the reviewer then explained their outrage that they didn't receive any discounts on their bill. They were expecting at least one item to be taken off because they liked the food so much. The reviewer's entitlement and misguided expectation of freebies drew ire from the online community. People were quick to point out that the purpose of a restaurant is to provide good food in exchange for payment. Further, expecting compensation in the form of free food for a review is crazy. The size of the reviewer's following, although significant at 11,000 followers, was met with skepticism and seen as irrelevant to the situation. The backlash against the reviewer was overwhelming, with nearly 5,000 comments on Reddit expressing disbelief. Many users highlighted the entitlement and unrealistic expectations displayed in the review, and some praised the restaurant for not succumbing to the demands of the influencers. The review ultimately backfired, as the negative attention garnered by the review resulted in more people reading it and considering it as a positive endorsement. If you want free food, it's a lot easier to just find some hair in it. Just saying. Number 2, free money, please. Lucy Welcher, a social media influencer with a sizable following on TikTok, made a video saying that she didn't want to work for the rest of her life because she's too pretty for that. The video quickly gained attention and sparked a fierce debate among viewers. With over 10 million TikTok likes, Welcher's remarks didn't go unnoticed. Many viewers were quick to criticize her, labeling her as lazy and entitled. They argued that looks had nothing to do with responsibility and also criticized her mindset. However, there were also hundreds of supporters who related to Welcher's sentiments. In response to the backlash, Welcher explained that her comments were meant as a joke and took to the comment section to defend herself. But she still faced mockery from viewers who took her statement seriously. The internet does like to fight. Eventually, the situation escalated to the point that Welcher started receiving threats. It all took a toll on her, and she shared her experience in a follow-up video. Welcher was frustrated by the lack of understanding and the harsh treatment she received and said that everyone should be able to take a joke. This wasn't the first time Welcher made comments about her aversion to work. In previous videos, she talked about her hatred of going to work and school, like all of us. The whole being too pretty to work was in line with her other humorous content and the persona she portrayed online as well. We got it though, Lucy. We're too pretty to work as well, but it's called work for a reason. It's not a hobby. If you're enjoying this video, be sure to stay right here for our past release to find out how entitled this guy was when his girlfriend won the lottery. Number 1, free vacation time. Instagram couple Katalin Onk and Elena Engelhart sparked controversy after asking their followers and the public to fund their upcoming trip to Africa. The couple, who described themselves as lovers, travelers, dream chasers, set up a GoFundMe page with a goal of €10,000 to finance their tandem cycling journey from Germany to Africa. But their plans for funding were met with strong criticism. Onk and Engelhart faced backlash from people who described them as egotistical brats and shameful, self-indulgent bludgers. Many commenters on social media told them to get jobs instead of asking for donations to fund their vacation. The couple defended their request by saying that the funds would be used for biking gear expenses, food and accommodation, internet and SIM cards, insurance, and emergencies throughout the trip. And they were going to practically bring everyone along by taking a bunch of pictures of themselves enjoying their trip and loving life. Sounds like a great deal, right? They only raised €200 from 6 donors. In response to the backlash, Onk and Engelhart acknowledged that they were accepting accepting money from Ank's mother and donations, but claimed that they weren't hiding this fact. They explained that their unemployed status was a choice made to avoid a normal job and pursue a different lifestyle. A lifestyle of people just giving them money, apparently. We'd like to sign up for that too. Do you think the couple's plea for financial support was a genuine attempt to fund their dream or a scam? This guy acted like he was a guru, but instead, he just wanted to play the part of a guru. And he decided to sue his lottery winner ex because she had given away his stuff. Let's get right to the people we thought we could have trusted. Number 3, not so hot yoga. When Bikram Choudhury started his yoga practice in the 70s, he started with some extraordinary claims. He said that he had coached Elvis Presley and somehow saved Richard Nixon from a leg amputation through his practice. Before long, Bikram had picked up an elite following in Los Angeles. Everyone wanted to try out his practice, and stars like Shirley MacLaine and Quincy Jones were early adopters. Because of this elite following, his business grew in leaps and bounds, and he was soon training teachers for $10,000 a pop. All of these led Bikram to building up a fortune. With his wealth came fame, and even more wealth. After a while, Bikram became a global superstar. His name was on yoga centers all around the world, and he was called a Grand Master of Yoga by many. He was truly living the American dream. But Bikram wasn't what he seemed. He wasn't this slightly eccentric and enlightened guru who led people to the path of truth. Instead, he was something else. He was something horrifying. And it wasn't until a few years ago that the truth about Bikram got out. In 2013, the first concrete claims that would break Bikram's false image came from one of his female ex-students. After that claim came several others making the same accusations. It appeared that Bikram had made extremely inappropriate moves and actions towards his students while he taught them. However, instead of apologizing for the harm he caused and taking responsibility, Bikram had another thing in mind. He laughed at the accusations and said that it was ridiculous for him to be accused of inappropriate behavior with female students. He said that women loved and liked him, and there was absolutely no need for him to behave inappropriately with them. What he insinuated by this was that he could have his way with any woman he wanted because they all loved him. But the numerous women who have leveled accusations against Bikram disagree vehemently with his defense. Sarah Bond, one of the women accusing Bikram, said that he told her that her career as a yoga instructor could never advance if she didn't allow him to have his way with her. That was just one of the numerous accusations of impropriety leveled against Bikram in his 50-year career as a yoga instructor. Incredibly, Bond's accusations were even mild compared to the more severe accusations of assault from other women like Jill Lawler. Jill claimed that Bikram had non-consensual relations with her when she was just 18 years old. Of course, Bikram denies all of this. When asked about these accusations on HBO's Real Sports program, he had extremely degrading things to say about Jill and the other women accusing him. He first of all argued that all of them were liars and were out to dent his reputation and destroy his business. He then said that if he needed women to have intimate relations with, he could easily make them line up for his attention. He even said that some women go into deep depression just because they want to be intimate with him. But those weren't the only outrageous claims he made. He said that he could make millions every day because many women wanted to pay him to have consensual relations with him. To round it all up, he called Sarah Bond, his primary accuser, a psychopath. Outside his issues with harassment accusations, Bikram also had interesting things to say about yoga in general. He said that he works for 24 hours every day and doesn't sleep or eat. And this wasn't an exaggeration or hyperbole on his part. He reaffirmed his statement when he was asked again and said that his practice of yoga means he does not need to sleep or eat. When he was asked how that affects his health, he said it does not. He even said that he knew 1 billion times more than all doctors combined and that every single doctor in the world came to learn medicine from him. In a way, Bikram had the confidence to speak like this because he knew that he could get away with a lot of what he had done. Many of the accusations he faced were from decades ago, and as a result, many of his accusers had nothing but their words as evidence. But one of the women accusing him, a lady named Meenakshi Jaffa Badin, sued him for gender discrimination, wrongful termination, and harassment while she worked for him between 2011 and 2013. Jaffa Badin won the civil case and was awarded $6.5 million. But Bikram was determined not to pay this money and fled the United States after the judgment. This meant that he evaded service of official papers and is now a fugitive in the U.S. However, Bikram's fugitive status in America hasn't stopped him from still training teachers and attending seminars outside America. According to his lawyers, Bikram's permanently traveling the world and continues to give his lectures wherever he can. It may sound like our yoga guru got away scot-free, but he did no such thing. By 2017, Bikram had been wrecked by debts from numerous legal judgments, and he was forced to file for bankruptcy protection. By the time he left the country, he left behind his luxury collection of cars, and they're worth a lot of money. These cars include a dozen Rolls-Royces, 5 Bentleys, a 1971 Pontiac Le Mans, a 1973 Ford Mustang Mach 1, and a Ford GT40. These cars were all seized by the state to settle his creditors. Amazingly, Bikram still hid some of his cars to stop them from getting seized. Unfortunately for him, the existence of these hidden vehicles has been verified and they'll be found. While Bikram may still be a traveling yoga superstar, he's a significantly poorer one. Despite losing his luxury cars and most of his belongings in the States, he still hasn't settled all his creditors and still owes lots of debt. Number 2. Hot sauce. Marie Holmes was a single mother working 5 jobs to support her 4 children when it was announced that she had won the $188 million Powerball jackpot in 2015. The win instantly took her from lower-class single mom to one of the richest people in her city. She became extraordinarily wealthy overnight and suddenly had millions of dollars to spend. One incredible thing about her win was that the lottery numbers she played had been picked by her mother. The numbers themselves were inspired by a dream her mother had about a deceased son. The numbers were supposed to reflect the son's age and how old he would be if he hadn't kicked the bucket. Before winning the lottery, Marie was a single mother of 4 children living in a trailer in the backwaters of town. She also worked 5 jobs, which include stints at Walmart, Food Lion, KFC, McDonald's, and Subway. She also had a pretty rough childhood and saw her father go to prison. Before she won the lottery, her father was in jail serving a 5-year sentence. 2 years before Marie won the lottery, she began dating a man named Lamar McDowell. She met McDowell when she worked as a server and had only 3 children. In the 2 years before winning the lottery, Marie had a kid with McDowell, and they began a serious relationship. However, things were about to change for both of them in different ways. 2 months before Marie won the lottery, McDowell was arrested for trafficking charges and had bail set at $3 million. Of course, at the time, Marie had no choice but to leave him in jail because she couldn't post his bail. But all of that changed when she won the lottery and suddenly had a lump sum of $88 million sitting pretty in her bank account. After winning, Marie immediately posted bail for her fiancé and got him free. But that was just the beginning of her bail posting adventures. Before McDowell was released, he was given strict bail conditions and was given a curfew. Barely 3 months later, law enforcement realized that he'd broken his curfew and they visited his home to execute a search warrant. On searching his home, they discovered a gun, which made them rearrest him. This time he had a bail of $6 million, and Marie made sure she was stuck with the bill again. 5 months later, McDowell was arrested for breaking conditions for his bail again. This time he was arrested for conspiring to organize an illegal street race. Marie again put up the guarantee for the bail, which was about $12 million. That meant she would have to pay around $21 million if McDowell, for any reason, didn't appear for his trial. Aside from bailing him out 3 separate times with millions of dollars, Marie also bought expensive gifts for McDowell. These gifts include a 1966 BLK Chevy Chevelle, a 2015 V Chevy Stingray, a $15,000 Rolex watch, an automotive shop, and trucks and tools to operate the shop with. Marie did all of this because she was committed to their relationship and expected McDowell to build a family with her. McDowell finally had his trial in 2016 and was sentenced to 10 years in prison and is due to be released in 2023. At the time of his sentencing, Marie was already his fiancée and they planned to get married once he got out of jail. But that wasn't to be. A few years after going to prison, McDowell learned from a friend that Marie had started dating someone new and had sold everything she had bought for him. McDowell decided to sue Marie for selling the items and cars she had bought for him after learning about her relationship with another person. He told the court that it was true. He owed nothing before meeting her, but he also said that he expected her to not sell his items. While filing his case, he admitted that none of the items were in his name and actually belonged to Marie legally. However, he claimed that she didn't act in his best interests as she had his power of attorney, and therefore he deserved financial compensation. Maybe when he gets out in 2023, he'll take that up with her personally. Number 1. Thumb scamming. Guy Griffith is a Hollywood producer who was accused of defrauding 25 investors of around $4.5 million through a worthless business. If you look up Guy Griffith, what you'd find is an IMDb bio profile that's unnecessarily long, claiming that Griffith had a tough upbringing and is basically an exceptional businessman who's breaking new ground in Hollywood. His bio says that he bought a condo at 16 years old and started his own mortgage brokerage at 22. While his IMDb profile may be fantastic, his resume when it comes to making moves is not really that extraordinary. He specializes in movies made in VR formats, and they include box office bombs like The Humanity Bureau starring Nicolas Cage and fringe movies like The Recall starring Wesley Snipes. His IMDb profile may bill him as the next best thing in Hollywood, but the evidence suggests otherwise. Interestingly, Griffith's most popular work isn't the movie with Nicolas Cage or Wesley Snipes. It's actually a mockumentary on thumb wrestling called WTF, which stands for World Thumb Wrestling Federation. Yes, that title was a little bit on the nose, but the film was actually moderately successful. Okay, we admit, the name was actually kind of good. But that's really where it ends for Griffith and Bridgegate, the film production company that he was president of. The company has never made any blockbusters, and maybe the lack of success with making movies was what led Griffith to his next venture. Guy Griffith's next business was a joint venture with a businessman named Robert Russell. Russell had a business called SMRB LLC that grew medicinal herbs, if you know what we mean. Let us just call these herbs Mary Jane for short. Griffith wanted in on this business, so he struck a deal with Russell to buy a 49% stake in the business for about $1.5 million. However, Griffith didn't actually have the funds to put up for the purchase, so he went about raising money for the operation by selling stakes in the company. Remember, he hadn't yet purchased the stakes, and yet he was already selling shares from it. If that sounds legally dodgy, you're right, but it gets even worse. SMRB LLC was domiciled in Washington State, and according to Washington State law, owners of medical herb growing companies must be residents and must be investigated and approved by the state's regulatory board. Griffith and Russell didn't abide by those rules, so the shares that Griffith actually bought were worth nothing. Despite that, Griffith managed to get 25 investors who were willing to own shares in the company. The 25 investors put up around $5 million, which should have been more than enough for the operation. But Griffith overplayed his hand and got more capital than he even wanted. Since there was a real business behind the scheme, Griffith was able to take potential investors on tours of the facilities and actually showed them what their money would be used for. In agreements with the investors, he promised them both a cut of ensuing profits from the sale of the herbs and an ownership interest in the company itself. This way, he was able to convert a lot of prospective investors to actual investors. Instead of investing the money in the business, he diverted a huge chunk of it for his personal needs. Griffith was able to keep up the fraud for a while by paying dividends from capital gotten from other investors. This, of course, is the textbook definition of a Ponzi scheme. Aside from that, the investors didn't receive certificates or documentation of their shares and basically got nothing to prove that they in fact owned shares in the company. Meanwhile, the company itself was stuck in a rut and was not doing well. So, where did the chunk of the capital paid by investors actually go? According to a complaint submitted to the SEC, they went to Griffith's movie production company. At least $1.7 million went into his personal bank account, and he bought a $250,000 yacht from the funds too. He also bought a slew of vehicles, including a 2008 Bentley Continental, a 2012 Mercedes-Benz, a 2013 Ford Mustang, and a 2015 Porsche Panamera. Interestingly, almost none of the misappropriated funds can be traced to Russell. Russell's lawyer argues that his client only knew about the original $1.5 million raised by Griffith to purchase a stake in the company, and that he had no idea about the remaining $3.5 million separately raised by Griffiths. But the SEC didn't accept that argument and sued both Griffith and Russell to court in a civil case. In court, it was decided that Griffith would pay back roughly $5.3 million, while Russell would pay back around $600,000. The amazing thing about this judgment was that it didn't force Griffith or Russell to admit any wrongdoing, and since it wasn't a criminal case, they'll probably not go to jail either. Click to watch one of these next videos. Let us know in the comments section what you'd rather happen. Be able to make $15 million yourself or be gifted $3 million.